now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. The Milestone universe relaunched this year on Earth M. And this relaunch of the Milestone universe was an effort to bring back the popular characters of the 1993 Milestone universe: Hardware, Icon, Rocket, and Static. Now, this relaunch, as I see it, has practically stumbled out of the gate, and it has stumbled out of the gate due to the fact that your Reginald Hudlin was completely unprepared for the changes in the comic book marketplace. Now, your Reginald Hudlin wanted to go out here and launch the Milestone new universe. Unfortunately, he did not take a critical examination of the marketplace, nor did he take a critical examination of all of the stiff competition that he faced from independent African American comic book publishers and companies like Concrete Comics. Now, your Reginald Hudlin really was not a visionary like the late great Dwayne McDuffie, because the late great Dwayne McDuffie was a very good planner as related to storytelling and storylines. And this was shown with the way he laid out the Milestone universe back in 1993, the way he laid out the Static Shock series on television in 2000, and it was also shown with the way he laid out one of the most popular animated comic books TV adaptations, the Cadmus story arc on Justice League Unlimited, and it was also shown with the way he laid out the story arc for Justice League Unlimited Season 2 and Justice League Season 2. So your Dwayne McDuffie was very good at laying out a plan for a storyline as related to an overreaching arc, and because he was very good at laying out overreaching arcs and taking time to develop characters and character transformation arcs, his series are not only compelling but have been legendary and iconic for an entire generation of TV viewers and comic book fans. Unfortunately, even though Reginald Hudlin was a great filmmaker, he did not have the skills to go out here and create a very solid relaunch of the Milestone universe. Now, the Milestone characters still have a great following. Unfortunately, because Reginald Hudlin does not have, again, a good vision for the characters, he wound up stumbling out of the gate. And he stumbled out of the gate because he was so caught up in his emotions about the characters and becoming a superstar comic creator that he was not thinking about things like plot, structure, story, and form. And as a result, he went out here not trying to make the characters what they were in the past. He was trying to pander to your social justice narratives, and he was trying to go out here and pander to audiences that really do not go out here and buy comics. And that was shown to us in Milestone Returns 0, where instead of reintroducing us to the characters of Hardware, Icon, Static, and Rocket, he decides to go out here and update these characters to reflect modern social justice narratives. Now, this effort to go out here and try to make the characters modern was something that turned off a lot of veteran Milestone fans, and it also alienated a lot of newer comic readers. So instead of going out here and having momentum to build with Milestone Return 0, you had many people saying that Milestone had gone woke, and sadly, this is what led to the relaunch starting to stumble out of the gate, and it stumbled even further with the return of Milestone Returns Ultimate Edition. Now, this second issue, which was supposed to reintroduce the characters, and develop them a little further, really started to, turn off readers because we saw retcons to the origins of the characters that really did not fit those characters. And one retcon in particular that turned a lot of readers off was the retcon of the origin of Static. Now, in the original origin of Static, which was featured in Static number 2, your Virgil Hawkins got his powers during a gang rumble known as the Big Bang. And at this Big Bang, all of these gang members came together to fight, and then eventually the police dropped this tear gas on the gang, and that's what led to Virgil getting the powers. And as Virgil was at that rumble, he was making a choice that defined his character and defined him as a hero. Unfortunately, in the retcon origin, we get Virgil not making the choice that makes him a hero, where he drops a gun given to him into a river and deciding to not go out here and commit a crime. We get an origin where Virgil decides to go to a Black Lives Matter rally in order to impress Frida Gorin, a white Jewish girl. And that practically takes your Virgil out of the story that made him a hero and then turns him into a simp. And it also goes out here and takes away key story elements that other writers would need to build upon. Because when you go out here and take the character out of a gang rumble, which is just a general concept that a writer can work with from issue to issue, and then you go out here and make it about a Black Lives Matter rally, what that does is it changes the character, and it also dates the character story, because every writer after this is going to have to reference Black Lives Matter and reference Black Lives Matter's politics, and that may wind up alienating readers. So the general gang that Dwayne McDuffie put out here, the gang rumble, that's something that's been going on for over a century, and it was something every writer could pick up on from generation to generation and just go out here and tell a very compelling story with. Unfortunately, because your Reginald Hudlin wanted to go out here and again pander to audiences that don't buy comics, he retcons your Virgil Hawkins origin, taking out key story elements like the gun and the choice, and this winds up changing the Static character in ways that practically do damage to the overall structure and foundation of the character. Now, another retcon that I had an issue with was the Hardware retcon, and in this one you have Curtis Metcalf in the original Milestone universe, who was an angry black man who was upset about not getting his due as related to working in corporate America, and that has been retconned into your Curtis Metcalf working for Alva Industries and creating the very gas that creates the Big Bang. And that really irritated me because, again, the original story was something every black boy and every black man who was worked in corporate America could relate to. And instead of giving us the story of an angry black man who was out to get his due and was upset about his company swerving him and not giving him what he deserved, we get this story where they're trying to make it where Curtis Metcalf is the one responsible for everything, and this leads to your Curtis Metcalf turning into a guilt-ridden character. Now, these retcons are some of the things that led to the Milestone Return Zero Ultimate Edition further stumbling out of the gate and leading to the first issue of the Milestone universe practically being a disaster. Now, Static Season 1 was an absolutely terrible first issue where we saw the Virgil Hawkins character effeminized and turned into a beta male who wound up brooding for most of the issue, and the issue coming from an emotional perspective because writer Vita Ayala did not have a good sense of the character. Now, the Earth M Milestone, as I stated before, is just not in a place where it can go out here and compete in the modern comic book marketplace, especially against today's modern black comic creators. Now, in contrast to your Milestone's Earth M, which has stumbled out of the gate, many of the independent black comic creators are coming out of the gate incredibly strong. And a universe of characters over at Concrete Comics is looking far better than Milestone right now. Because after reading the books of the Concrete universe, I can tell you that that universe of characters blows the doors off anything Milestone is publishing right now. Because the foundation laid at Concrete Comics with Absolver, Acolyte, and your books like Odina is far stronger and far more solid than what's going on at Milestone. That first wave of characters, Absolver, Acolyte, and Odina, are building a very strong universe of strong black characters with well-crafted stories and rich multi-dimensional characters. I mean, I remember reading Absolver and I was just drawn into his dark and mysterious world because the characterizations were just so well done. And I loved Acolyte because it really reminded me of the best of the 1978 Superman movies, and it also gave us a look at black culture as related to this son of a supreme. There was just so much there. The whole epicness of the character's origin and his history and his background. There was just so much there that I really was I'm looking forward to picking up the next issue of Acolyte, because this story is just really rock solid, and everything there was just absolutely fantastic. Now the third book, Odina, it did have some issues, but the concept looked far more solid than anything I've seen from Milestone's Relaunch. And when I look at Concrete's first wave, I saw a really solid foundation, and then they further built on the blocks of that foundation with two more great books, The Watchman and your Candide. The Watchman gives us that street hero who comes from a legacy, and he's another very well done character that really reminds me of Nightwing and Daredevil, but everything with this character just draws you in and makes you want to read more. And I can't wait till Watchmen #2 comes out and they start to introduce the bad guys, because The Watchmen is a book you definitely want to watch out for. And Candide is far better than Odina. Candide really takes us into the Nubian mythology and gives us the strong and powerful heroine that I wish Milestone had brought out in the 1990s and had brought into this whole relaunch. I have always been saying that we definitely need a book featuring a black heroine, and Candide is the book that I would go out here and write myself if I were writing comics, and if I could get an ISIS comic out there. This is the way I would do it. I mean, this is just, again, an exceptional comic featuring a black heroine, an exceptional book featuring Nubian mythology, and an exceptional book with absolutely fantastic art. And if Concrete keeps building the blocks of their universe, they are going to surpass Milestone and take black superheroes to another level. That's how well done the characters at Concrete are, and they blow the doors off this Milestone relaunch because the writing is there, the storytelling is there, the characters are rich and multidimensional, and the action is just spectacular in these books. You will not be disappointed with a Concrete comic the way many were disappointed with Static Season 1, Number 1. And these are books, again, I would highly recommend from the company of Concrete Comics. Now, in addition to Concrete Comics coming out here out of the gate very strong, we have another company coming out with books, and that company is from a Kickstarter I saw. His name is Tyler Martin, I believe. He came out with the book called The Antagonist, and The Antagonist is all about this black family of superpowered people, and they are the bad guys, and they're just slowly plotting and planning their quest to take over the world. And this whole series about this family, it's like a really dark Fantastic Four. And this series is absolutely fantastic in how it presents its characters, and one of the most very compelling stories I have read in a long time. And the antagonist in 3 issues, comes out of the gate extremely strong, and it just leaves a powerful first impression on the reader, and it really just makes you say, wow, these characters are just absolutely amazing, and I definitely want to read more of the antagonist. Now, other independent creators that are coming out here, I picked up on Kickstarter. There was a series called Nani, and this series was about 2 girls who get taken to a land that features fantasy beings based on African mythology. And this Nani graphic novel, this one was a really very compelling story about being drawn into this world of African mythology, and it really showed us different legends like the Hyena Man and many others, and did a great job telling that story. Now, a great horror comic I picked up was Crescent City Monsters, and this one went into the Creole legends, and this one really did a great job into taking us into that whole world of Creole history and Creole legends. So there are so many great black comics out there from independent creators, and like your Greg Burnham, who did the series Search for Sadiqa, and Tuskegee Heirs. There are just so many great independent creators making great comics, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because you have guys like Black Sands who are taking black comics to another level, and Milestone is sitting here trying to pander to social justice narratives. Meanwhile, other independent creators are coming out here and creating some absolutely fantastic work, and that's why I say the competition out here is extremely stiff. Unfortunately, your Milestone, they don't really have their head in the game to go out here and compete. And that was shown to me with what happened with Milestone Returns Zero, Milestone Returns Zero Ultimate Edition, and Static Season 1 Number 1. Your Earth M is not in a place to compete in today's modern comic book marketplace, and the books just don't have the stories that will draw the readers in. When I look at the competition that is out there, and I see what these independent black creators are doing, I just don't see Milestone being able to hold up for long, because yes, these characters have a name, but the whole thing is that other creators are building their name and their reputation on quality stories, like what Raymond Leonard is doing right now in his Agent Solo books and his diverse universe. So there's just a lot more competition out there as related to the black comic book marketplace, and I believe that your Reginald Hudlin took the black comic book reader for granted, and I think he really underestimated the stiff competition he was running up against. Now, as somebody who has been working on fantasy novels for the last 10 years, I've gone out here to places like the Black Comic Book Festival, and I've seen all of the great talent out here, and I believe your Reginald Hudlin and your Dennis Cowan and all the other founders at Milestone, they were not out here looking at that competition, picking up their material, reading their material, because I believe if they did go out here and read their material like I did, they would be out here really thinking about how they approach stories and how they approach their characters, and they would have gone in a completely different direction. Because in order to go out here and compete in the modern marketplace, you have to understand that you're going to have to come out here with a very strong product, and you're going to have to come out here with a product that really gets the reader to care about the characters, gets the reader to care about the stories, and gets the readers hooked into what you are presenting in your story. And I did not see that with the Milestone Earth M relaunch. No, I really saw a bunch of creators who took their character's place in comic book history for granted, and then went out here and recruited a lot of really unqualified talent, because I don't think Reginald Hudlin really knows how to put together a compelling comic in the 21st century. And then he goes out here and hires one of the worst writers, Vita Ayala, to go out here and launch the flagship book. And that launching of the flagship book, Static, practically turned a stumbling relaunch into one that fell flat on its face. And this is where your Milestone really underestimated, again, its audience, underestimated the competition, and underestimated how fierce it is out here. Because as someone who has been out here, has gone to, again, places like the Schaumburg Black Comic Book Festival, seen all of the work that's being produced by black comic creators, I know that it's stiff competition out here, and that's what makes me really want to go out here and refine my work before I come out here with my own John Haynes at Death's Door comic, because I understand I only get one chance to make a first impression on the reader, and that impression on the reader can be the difference between the reader picking up the next book or not picking up any books at all. And that's why I was very careful when I went out here and launched my John Haynes series, which was With the Conversation with Death. And that book practically opened the door for the entire John Haynes series. People compared it to John Constantine. They compared it to Vertigo comics. And it led to a lot of people coming out here and picking up the next book, Dark Succubus and Man with Nothing to Lose and Taking Care of Business. And I'm hoping to build that momentum into the upcoming John Haynes comic at Death's Door. But there was none of that planning done at Milestone, and that's why they are struggling, as I see it right now, because the only difference between what's happening at Milestone is that, yes, their characters are popular, but their competition is going to become, I believe, incredibly popular, especially companies like Concrete Comics. I mean, Concrete has come out of the gate incredibly strong, with an extremely strong catalog of characters and an extremely solid group of stories. And I believe that if they gained a little bit more publicity, they would start to get the momentum to take the game from Milestone. And if they had a distribution of Milestone, we would be talking about Absolver and your Candake and the Watchmen, and we would be talking about Acolyte, but instead of Hardware, Icon, and Static. Now, if you want to pick up my first comic, Esteem No Good Deed, you can find that comic on Amazon.com for 99 cents on Kindle. And if you want to pick up some of the books on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy that make up the SJS Direct universe, you can pick up all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Coming to paperback and e-readers in 2021, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks on a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business in 2021 at online booksellers everywhere.